Sorry about that jump scare right there. You had to see it because I saw it, and so you have to now too. That's how the movie ends. It's some white ditty party dance off, freak off. It's just like confetti everywhere. You can't see anything. You can't hear anything. All these ascending. Oh! Like you're in a madhouse when you're walking out. I sprinted at that theater as fast as I could. Walk of shame, sprint to shame out of Snow White. What a weird movie. Every time they address her by name, Snow White, something in the back of my mind was like, yeah, she's not white. And I know that shouldn't really matter, recasting to someone slightly, less white. She's half Polish, right? Shouldn't really be such a detriment to your movie, but it's a part of it's in the name of the character. Talk about bringing you out every chance you get. Theater was empty. I took some notes while I was watching it. And I have some things to talk about because I felt, hey, why not throw my 2 cents in there even though everyone's talking about this movie? I'm sure you've heard it all before. Let's just hammer it home a little bit more. Okay, so the whole premise of this movie hinges on the literal misunderstanding, the mistranslation of the word fair. If I could go for the next couple of years without hearing the word fair again, I think that'd be okay because it was like 300 times in this movie, and I don't think they got it out of their system enough, the word fair. I wonder how many times that word was used in the original movie. Should I check? No, I don't care. The evil queen says, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And the mirror goes, but you're the most beautiful one, but the most fair is this other chick. And the evil queen's so pissed about it. What? I'm not the most fair, but I killed the king and usurped the throne for power. I'm not the most fair one here? She can't believe it. Even though the mirror's like, you're the most beautiful one. Your beauty is unmatched. Yeah, but I'm not fair? No way. And we'll get into that a little bit more later as to why that makes no sense. The movie's premise inherently is illogical and disjointed in the way that the cognitive dissonance of using the word fair. The old movie, people's understanding of the English language was a little bit more broad, and they understood a little bit more, secondary meanings and translations of words. So when someone was described as fair, not only did that word translate to, just, like justice, but also good looking, that's a very fair woman. Meant attractive. Everyone knew it. Everyone knows this. Everyone knew that. It wasn't controversial. So this movie has to hammer it home that fair means straight up justice. It just means just in this movie. It has nothing to do with attractiveness. Fair and beautiful, not the same things in this movie. Get that out of your head, audience. So there's no understandable motive for the evil queen in this movie because words have no meaning in this world. And it's an apt representation of the woke left. Let's take a word, and we all know how people are going to think of the word and what the word means, secondary meanings, maybe subtextual meanings. Let's get rid of that. Let's do a literal translation of it, and then gaslight everyone who assumes otherwise. We'll just gaslight everyone. So fair in this case means strictly just, and nothing to do with attractiveness, and it ruins the whole movie based off that alone. It's probably because the producers went back and said, oh wait, Gal Gadot's smoking. And Rachel Zegler's not ugly, but she is very pronounced. She has very jagged features. Angular, you might say. I think she'd be a great evil queen with her eyebrows and the side profile and the little thing that she does when she juts out her lower jaw when she's angry. Very unbecoming, very unladylike, very evil, very sinister. And Gal Gadot's very round, very sweet looking. Weird casting. They should have just done some CGI face swap over the two bodies, and it would have worked way better, in my opinion. That would have been fun. What else? So the queen's obsessed with her beauty, right? And when you first see her in the movie, she's approaching the main hall of this kingdom, and she seduces the king, who recently lost his wife, the queen, Snow White's mother. And she's beautiful. Her hair's down. She's looking great and normal. And then the rest of the movie, even though she's obsessed with her beauty, she's wearing a bodysuit, and she hides her hair and the rest of her face and her shoulders, things that are feminine and beautiful. Make it make sense. She wears this nasty eye makeup too. She looked way more beautiful in the first scene where she's walking in a little bit more natural looking, a little bit more homely. What's up, homie? You can tell Rachel Zegler's not meant for film. She's meant for the stage. And I mean that as a compliment. I did some stage acting in high school and a little bit in college, too. I've done a little bit of acting here and there, both short films and on stage. And there's a different type of emoting you have to do. When you're on stage, you're very big with your facial expressions, and everything's over-exaggerated because you gotta really hammer it home for the people in the back. And it's just so awkward. On camera, on film, you need to have subtle reactions, and every time there's something that needs to be reacted to, she just overdoes it and does like 10 different iterations of an emote. It's totally a Gen Z, raised on Pixar. Let me recreate these weird facial animations in real life, because that's all they seem to know. They don't know subtlety. Her generation's not watching movies. I don't think Rachel Zegler's seen more than 100 movies. It's terrible reactions. She should stop doing film and just dedicate to Broadway. She'll have a great career. Just stick to Broadway. Get out of movies. You're not She loves the camera way more than the camera loves her. Man, the tough face that she does too whenever she's, feeling brave. The lower jaw sticks out. It's like, dude, what are you doing, Rachel? Stop that. The dwarves' animation style is so distracting. Their faces are so big on the head itself. It's like, can we just shrink the faces by 10, 20%? It might look way better, but no, everything's so in your face and the camera's right there. And it's like, man, we should have kept these dwarves at like 5-10 foot rule at least, man. It looks worse than the Polar Express too when it comes to animation style. I don't know how we've regressed. Go watch Pirates of the Caribbean and you'll see what we're talking about. And Snow White's logic here at the end. Snow White's logic at the end. She has this line: if we give up our scraps, we will inherit the world, or like what we're owed. So let's give, even if I can't afford to sell you this, I'm just barely scraping by. You're hungry though, but you need what I'm selling, I'll just give it to you for free. Let's just collapse the economy. We'll inherit some futuristic utopia one day, right? Let's just give up our scraps. We'll inherit the world. What is this communist gobbledygook?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
The themes of the original are gone too. I feel like the original wasn't necessarily your man's movie. It's appealed to mass audiences, especially women. Why? Because it's about femininity, divine femininity, toxic femininity, and jealousy. An older woman jealous of a younger woman, an older woman who has a lot of power, and a younger woman who doesn't necessarily seek power, and she can't have that. She still has to take that one thing away from Snow White, her beauty and her fairness. So these themes, this subtext is not there anymore. There's no jealousy. There's no toxic femininity. That would have been an interesting theme to explore, especially in 2025. But we can't. We can't explore that. It's not real. It doesn't exist. Women aren't jealous of beauty. They're only jealous on if you're more justice than they are. Duh. And there's a line that they give during there's a comment in one of those on this red carpet interviews. She's not going to get saved by the prince.
That is not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Yet there's a whole line in the movie where Prince Jonathan literally takes an arrow for her, and there's a line that he saved your life, so she gets saved by the prince. Oh.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
So were you just saying that so that all your woke feminist fans wouldn't break you over the coals? She gets saved by the prince in this movie, rest assured.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Jonathan has more of a character arc than her in this movie. I actually liked him fairly a decent amount. I just said fairly. He's actually way more likable than her. He's kind of a badass. He's charismatic, he's funny, he's not too conceited, he's confident. I don't know, I just liked him a lot. That guy should be in more movies. Let's see him in more. They should call it John White, because it was really more about him, and he was actually white. He had a whole arc where he was like this bandit who was just trying to, get by. He's anti-government. Ooh, wait, why do I like this guy so much? And then he wanted to sort of fight for the dead king because some new corrupt tyrant's in power. So he's like, yeah, let's get back to like that old good king that was more peaceful and anti-war and anti-famine, sort of stuff like that. And then by the end, he realizes he has something to fight for. He's not just kind of out there fighting for his small band of bandits, but he wants to fight for Snow White and her kingdom. So he actually had an arc. Whereas I don't know what Snow White's arc is in this. She starts off a princess, then her mom dies, and her dad gets killed, and she's raised as a peasant under the evil queen, and then she goes and she gets kicked out. She gets banished for talking back to the queen and being opinionated, and then the dwarves find her, and she's like, oh, wait, no, I should really try to go back and you know, I should really go get the kingdom back that my dad. I should really go get the kingdom that I inherit back. How's that an arc? How is an arc remembering what you had a couple years ago? There's a whole scene at the end. Remember, bro, you had a cherry blossom farm down the street. You used to give free cherries out for everyone. Remember that? In Chaz Chop? Man, oh, dude, remember I saw you riding a bicycle growing up. We remember each other, guys? I remember. That's like the I'm Spartacus moment of this movie. That was so weird and so cringe. That's all they needed to betray the evil queen, was for Snow White to go like, wait, guys, we all know each other's first names. We all went to elementary school together. Remember? They didn't remember until she said that. She has no arc. There's no character arc for her. You know what? It would have been cooler if the magic of this world was explained more, I think. Like, let's get into how this witch is able to like just get this rose and make this rose appear and disappear and turn into ash. And what is this? What is the origin of this magic mirror? I'd be actually curious to know how the magic works and what are the rules? What are the rules? Yeah, Snow White does. She does nothing but remind people of how great the '90s were. Remember the good days? It's like, yeah, but you want to drag us into what? Some new age communist utopia. Here are some things I did like. The set design and lighting was fine. It was pretty good. There's this moment when Snow White's first banished, and it's like an evil forest vibe. I thought it looked pretty cool, with like this soft red lighting coming through, and it kind of reminded me of a Disney ride, some hay fever, creepy Disney moment. You know how creepy some of the 90s original cartoon Disney movies were back in the day? That's kind of had that feel for about 3 minutes. I like that. Princess Problems is a pretty funny song because it's poking fun at Rachel Zegler pretty much, and she seems to, you know, take it on the chin, or at least her character does in that sequence. So I like that song. It's pretty clever. The dude has charisma in droves compared to her. Wish we would have seen more of him. Actually, we saw more than I thought we would too, based on the interviews that she was giving on the red carpet.
And she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
But this movie is just as bad as you've heard. I was bewildered at how bad it was, how cringy it was. Gal Gadot, she probably should stop acting too. Definitely stop singing. You couldn't auto-tune her enough, especially to get rid of that Israeli accent, which sounds good sometimes, if I'm being generous. Definitely not when sung, though, if we're being real. And she doesn't have a vibrato. Like, I'm not one to really talk. I don't have a huge vibrato myself. But yeah, she's a speak sings, you know? She's a speak singer, and contrasting that with Rachel is just weird. It's way too black and white. Someone with, like, Broadway background, West Side Story, and then Gal Gadot, who's pretty much just a runway model, who should never get any spoken word on screen, and they give her a musical song. Probably had one or two more, too, before they actually, you know, solidified the casting and gave it to her and realized, yeah, one's enough. I don't really know what else to say about this more than what's already been said. That's just pretty much my 2 cents, is that, you know, this movie harps on the fact that they're mistranslating the word fair. If she's obsessed with her beauty, why is she hiding it all the time, the evil queen? And why does she care so much that someone is more justice than her when she's the most beautiful one? Because that's all she seems to care about. So what are we really doing here? The movie doesn't even know. They don't know what they're doing. Hollywood, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Try to get that ending scene out of your mind. You can't. Thanks for watching. See you next time.